Yeah, it was. So since we kind of meandered into it, there's some more DC news, and I feel like every time there's DC news, I'm kind of like, okay, we'll see. So
What we
James
got?
Gunn was talking about all the exciting things at New York Comic Con, and he was doing a panel, and he said David Corn Sweat is going to blow people the f away. He's the best physical action star I probably ever worked with. Chris Pratt would be upset. Rachel Brosnahan, people are going to die for her as well. I think they did an excellent job of casting those two to look like Superman, Clark Kent, and Lois Lane. So with that alone, I think that's pretty solid. No trailer yet. It won't be too long, but it won't be too soon. So I don't know how long before we actually get to see it. I do think it's cool that we have crypto in the movie. Let's see. We talked about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. We start shooting in England in January. I just saw the screen test with Millie Alcock. It's based on Tom King's Woman of Tomorrow.
that right there gave you that part.
No, I want to. That story was fine. Basically, the premise for it is Supergirl travels off planet, off Earth, and she's helping this girl. So she's far removed from everything tied and connected to the DC universe. And she loses her powers slowly. And so she's helping this girl avenge the death of her father. And it's very different than a classic Supergirl take, which is why I'm like, I mean, they said this all along, but I still feel like I don't know if that's the best Supergirl story to go with when we're establishing this new universe. We've got it grounded on Earth Superman, and then we shift to a Supergirl who's not on Earth, who's somewhere else. It's like, this is awesome, sure, but why do two super people movies back to back?
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's a couple part question. Is this
Yes,
story worth
cool.
looking at? Is it worth kind of reading about it, reading the story, and then going to watch the movie? Kind of like, oh, I see where you're going for.
I think it's one that you'll be fine. I mean, like, I think Tom King kind of gets too bogged down and let's deconstruct the hero. Let's put him through this terrible stuff and then let's put him back up on top again. And I don't feel like he always nails that, put him back on top. Like he tears the hero down. It's like, gosh, that's awful and terrible. And then sometimes it's like, okay, put it back. Oh, shoot, I broke it.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, especially for a world where everybody hates how, they find Superman boring. I think that almost works like, hey, he's not boring. I mean, if you had Tom King running the Superman story, that would work really well because this isn't that dude, this is guy who's got much more, trials and tribulation.
Oh, no. I've really enjoyed some of Tom King's work. I don't want him anywhere near any fresh take on Superman in the movie world because he gives characters and heroes specifically too much bogged down trauma, which loses all the fun of the hero. And people complain that the DCEU under Zack Snyder was too uninspiring. A Tom King universe of movie DC characters would be worse in the sense that it'd just be bleak and dire. And oh my gosh, pull on that Sarah McLachlan, Fiona Apple. I'm ready to sit down and be discouraged. So
yeah,
that's where I'm kind of like, I don't really know why they chose this Supergirl story because it's not necessarily the most hopeful Supergirl story. And to do it right, it's going to be told from the perspective of the alien princess who looks like a human that she's helping. And I kind of got Road to Perdition vibes from it. So she's like, oh, I saw it was cool. I did not dislike the story, but it was definitely a far removed. This doesn't even have to be in DC continuity kind of Supergirl story.
Yeah, okay. Now and this was the second part of my question. Because this is all expectation, but we're going into a world that all these characters have been established. There's basically a quasi Justice League. If you don't need to I mean, weird things, you don't need a Supergirl origin. Just, it probably works best to have her. All right, everybody's off planet. There's a Supergirl, but now we have a story where Supergirl is not as super as Superman because she's got her own storyline she's working on. So you have a small cameo in Superman, and it's, I'm gonna go do this thing to help build the universe. I don't know if I'm uninspired to go see it, but it's okay. At least you guys are planning things that it didn't seem like at the end of DCU, the Snyderverse, you guys were doing.
And as much as I could not stand watching them side by side, the two versions of Justice League, one thing that I really liked in Josh Whedon's version was when the little kids were all awkwardly coming up to him. Superman, what are you? That scene was really good despite the mustache issue. But I thought that was very Superman-esque. He's talking, well, if it's for the press, like that was charming. That was Superman. I feel like James Gunn will get that, but yeah, more of that, less of the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow story, which definitely not as hopeful and optimistic. And they could shift it, because it's based on, it doesn't mean it's line for line. They can't do it. It's impossible. Speaking of which, please remember your dummy of the week.
Oh, I know my dummy of the week. I have that one written down. That's not a problem. Oh, please don't worry about it.
Harry G, that's what they're missing from the DC movies, the hopefulness. These heroes are supposed to inspire all of them, even Batman.
Yeah, even Batman. It's his, no matter what, he is trying to get over his trauma. And he's, hey, this bleak Gotham, you still have a hero that is fighting for Gotham to be better.
Right.
I think, the best thing is they have to make sure, and from a new universe, Superman has to be helpful. If you fail on that, the whole House of Cards is going to crumble down. So hopefully you have a really good storyline and don't get edited to be danged. Superman and Lois storyline, and your Superman is cool.
Chamberlain says, I think Tom King is a solid writer, but more for exploring relationships and the human side of characters. I wouldn't consider him a quintessential version of a superhero. Yeah, see, my levels of appreciation for Tom King dropped down a little bit after The Human Target with the handling of the Justice League International. Again, this is not regular continuity. It's like, Tom, I thought you said you liked the JLI. So I don't know. I feel like he's a writer that kind of like, ooh, a thread. And he just picks and picks and picks until it's like, oh, it's all here on the ground. Hopefully someone else can weave it back together into a nice sweater.
No. That sounds like Brian Michael Bendis. No.
Gosh, no.
That is way no. I rep was it the Batman when he was doing that storyline.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, like he's that, gosh no. Like
Brian Michael Bendis, somebody hey, here's the crap I left by. Like that, man. Tom King is, hey, on that Batman story was like, hey, I am deconstructing this hero, but at the end, I can at least say, I haven't changed anything in continuity that screws up the whole thing. Bendis sucks to be you after me, guy after me.
Like, he did do one major thing that is still.
And he didn't decide to, have. He wasn't the one to put Alfred in the bat suit. So.
He killed Alfred, so that's more than enough. Right? Exactly. Right? Like,
okay,
a huge thing.
Yes, that is a huge thing of consequence.
Major.
But if you want to be, I'm out. I gotta admit, I am wrong on that point.
Back it on there, Jake.
Yeah, but you can have. We can have consequences. Like I don't think that's a bad thing. It's not making a beloved Jonathan Kent leave and go become part of the Legion of Superhero. Like he didn't do something that stupid.
Listen, Tom King pulls the thread and slowly unravels it. Brian Michael Bendis takes bombs on it. and just boom, 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 boom. Like he's wrestling Pyro Dude. So different. Like Tom King had really great stories during his time at DC. I can tell you one issue that Brian Michael Bendis wrote during his entire time writing at DC that I was like, that wasn't bad. It was like, oh, this is really great. It was like, it's pretty good for Brian Michael Bendis. His run in DC was awful. Should be stripped from the history books.
Again, now, I mean, the problem is that basically what's happening in DC now? Because, all right, they're so frustrated. They're like, we got to start all over because half the stuff that these writers have done in the last 5 years has screwed everything up.
It's not that bad. I mean, they didn't do anything to the level of Cry for Justice, where it was like, I am crying for how ridiculous you guys have turned my poor DC universe into.
No, that was Heroes for Crisis. That was garbage.
That was terrible. Tom King wrote that. But again, he has pelts of good stories. Heroes for Crisis is kind of where I felt like was a turning point for him as a writer at DC, where that idea just never worked. And DC was like, sure, Tom, whatever you want to do. Where I feel like stronger editorial would have helped that immensely, because you can't have Booster Gold and Harley Quinn somehow managing to evade Superman, Wonder Woman, and the world's greatest detective, Batman. That made no sense.
I'm glad I didn't read that storyline.
Oh, Jamie, you and me, man. I liked about the first. Yes, that's why I'm always like, the dude wrote really good Batman. I Am Suicide, I Am Batman, but Gotham, I Am Gotham. Really good stuff. Like, I was so excited when he left Grayson and they tabbed him to write Batman. I said, Jayce, this dude's going to kill it on Batman. And it was so good. I feel like it was really exceptional, right to the point of the wedding, where it was like, why do y'all have to do this?
The wedding.
And then the last really good story was the Mr. Freeze one that he did with Lee Weeks. Really great. Like, awesome. Must read. If you didn't read it, you should. It was great. Then the Booster Gold stuff got weird. And then the whole, oh my gosh, when he's sitting in that like suspended animation, really bad. And it just felt like he was falling. Let me kill Alfred so people will remember this run. And it was just like, Tom, don't break stuff on your way down. Just,
who was the one who did the booster? Who's the author who did the Booster Gold run where he is kind of in the background? He's still kind of portrayed as
Jeff Johns and
Jeff I think
I remember that work.
I'm still just that needs I hope they are using that as the model for a Booster Gold show or something.
Did you send me that deal where the fan cast for Booster?
Yeah,
that was awesome.
I mean, that's like, oh, okay. I mean, Prometheus playing Booster Gold, like, yeah, good cast. That would be cool.
Yes. So here's some more from this NYCC deal. James said Aaron Pierre was nearly cast as Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He said Pierre and Kyle Chandler are so good together as Hal and John that you'll be hooked on the two of them the moment they hit the screen. I'm like, okay, you got that from a screen test, but okay, whatever. And I'm still not thrilled with their take on those two. I just read the last week's issue of Green Lantern with young Hal, young John. I'm like, that's great. And why I didn't need to shift that up. So Gunn went on to say every project of DC Studios will be its own thing. Everything is going tremendously well. Superman, Supergirl, Lanterns, they're part of the cinematic universe. But every one of those things will be different aesthetically. Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
We learned that other things that have happened in the past in other media have still happened. What? There are references to things that happened in the past, and those references then become canon in the DCU because we mentioned them. Now, maybe that just means everything that happened in Peacemaker is canon.
John, we can't have everything that happens in Peacemaker because we have Flash and Aquaman.
Shut up, Barry. This is where DC the comic books, and I feel like this is showing that James Gunn is really into DC because they won't commit to a full-on reboot at times, and it's just like, Well, everything's changed except for this part. So I just feel like, all right. And I mean, we've been talking enough about DC that there's a miraculous recovery. I missed the Dick Grayson Batman of the Damon. Yeah, it was great. He's back. He took some Pepto. He got hyped up. He wanted to hear about how bad Joker Fule Dude did at the box office. So let's welcome him now back. He didn't even wait till next week. Chief, what's up?
What's happening, fellas? What's going on? What's going on, chat?
I'm glad to see you powered through.
Man, let me tell you, for a minute there, I was like, this ain't good.
Told you to leave those chitlins alone, Chief.
You know what? If I ate chitlins, then I would deservedly be so.
You didn't have a hot dog at 7-Eleven, did you?
Nah. Snowflake, what's up? Nah, man.
What a recovery. What a
yeah. I'm strong like bull, you know. Just a spoon full of sugar helps the medicine go down. You know how it is.
Spoonful of Coke. That's even better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something to set up. Thanks, man. Something to set on my stomach, man. I was not having a great stomach day.
Jeff, then you probably shouldn't continue that topic.
What happened, man?
I don't know if you heard, but everything apparently is fair game in the DCU that James Gunn is creating with Peter Safran. He said that there are some things that happen in other media that they're going to be referencing, and it will then become canon because they mentioned it in these movies. So my theory is just everything involving his wife is going to be canon, and everything that she wasn't in, well, don't worry about that.
Whose wife?
James Gunn.
His wife is in the shows now?
You watched Peacemaker, yes?
No.
Oh, you didn't watch any of it?
No, I never saw Peacemaker.
Oh, okay. Did you watch the second Suicide Squad movie?
I want to say I did.
That was the one with Idris.
I remember bits of it. I remember it being kind of like a comedy. With the
all right, so there were two agents that worked with Amanda Waller. A dude who was like the comic relief, wore glasses, long stringy hair, maybe not in superhero shape. And then there was a blonde, and she was all snappy, making with the hoo-hoo with the ha-has. She's James Gunn's wife. And you definitely saw her in that dream-crushing moment of Black Adam, where they had Black Adam and she reported to Amanda.
She was also in. Okay, she was also in the post-credit scene in Shazam.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, I mean, it's if you were kind of Peacemaker is a thing. Yeah.
This is what she looks like, Chief.
Yeah.
Don't say
it. Anyway, she's been in like everything. She was also in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So, you know, she tends to pop up in his projects. But I mean, you know, if it's good enough for Resident Evil, it's good enough for James Gunn.
Right. I mean, you know, obviously she's much younger than him. He has to do the right thing. Howdy, Snake Eyes. Sometimes you gotta keep your younger woman. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Wow. I mean, somebody on here is catching strays for no reason.